I am sitting here with 4 of the most fantastic performers on Broadway right now, and they're all in the same show. Doll's House Part 2, one of my favorite plays, not just this season, but in many a season. Congratulations, Tony nominations. Sometimes when you're in a play and you get sort of singled out as the nominee, and some of your co-stars maybe don't, and this time, none of those concerns, because you're the 4 stars of the show and you're all nominated. So how does that feel?
It was a happy Tuesday when the nominations came out and we showed up to do our show, and we had a toast with each other afterwards.
Yeah. And this is very rare that this happens. 8 nominations for a play also. I mean, it's just incredible. Do you feel like you're like the toast of Broadway? How do you feel, Chris?
I'm stunned. Really, I mean, what other words are there? To start out with our script and this cast, and to see what we've come along and ended up with, it's mind-boggling. Mm-hmm. It really is.
And you've been together now for a while. So the way that this play came together is that you actually did a bunch of workshop productions, right?
I think we had about 2 last year. Was it? I think
2 workshops.
2 workshops last year before we got into rehearsal, and that was really for the writing of it. We were still, Lucas was still constructing it, and so it was. I mean, it was a workshop for all of us, but really it was a workshop so that we could start to hear, so that Lucas could really start to hear the play and what needed to be added, what needed to be taken away, and so we were kind of in this little Doll's House Part 2. Incubator, yeah.
and so that must have been great, though, just for building your own offstage relationships and just building your own chemistry. And I mean, was that whole process really helpful by the time you just started Broadway rehearsals? You guys knew each other, you sort of knew the rhythms of it?
Ever since, I mean, even when we started with our workshops, we've all had a pretty easy relationship with one another, pretty laid back and relaxed, and we all are so on board with loving the play completely that it's just been a real pleasure.
Yeah.
This is a sequel, and it's an audacious idea of taking this classic Ibsen play that I don't know that well. I've seen it a few times in my theater-going history. Who here is like the biggest expert on A Doll's House? Have any of you done it?
Read it, seen it, not done it.
Read it, seen it.
Right. So it's such a bold idea to I mean, I remember when the title was first announced, and it was like, what is that? That's so amazing. Like, what a great idea to do that. So you must have thought that too, the minute that you sort of cracked open the script.
What was the word? Audacious?
Yeah.
Having read the original, and where I live in Massachusetts, and just before I came to New York to work on the script, there was a production in Massachusetts, and I thought, God, that'd be good to, if nothing else, see the play, but to hear it, and if you get the references, all the better, from Doll's House 1, it's great, but you'll get it anyway.
Nora is obviously this iconic character, sort of one of the great, dramatic leading lady roles. And have you ever thought about her before? Have you ever thought about this character before?
Of playing Nora in the original?
Yeah.
No, I hadn't, and I still haven't really played Nora.
Right.
Because so much has happened to her in the 15 years that have passed when she left the house and her husband and children, and then gone off and reinvented herself. So I used that as a free pass just to reinvent the character for myself, because that's whatever you see in the sequel is what was bottled up in Nora in the original, and it just gets to come forward, all of the confidence and the humor, and so it was fun just to start from scratch.
Right. A lot of humor.
A lot of humor. You'd think that it would be a drama, maybe even based on the title. But it's so fresh and contemporary and so funny.
Did you, Jayne, immediately enjoy the language of it? Lucas Nate, the playwright, the language of it is so great. And I was actually just saying it's so great to read it, too. I was actually reading the script, and it just moves so beautifully. Is that like sort of the ultimate?
It's pretty delicious, because you have, in terms of expressing yourself verbally, you have really free reign in our own contemporary speech and vernacular and slang, etc. So that's fun. You just can let it fly verbally, but at the same time, the kind of strictures of the period costumes and everything remind you constantly that you're in something extraordinary, and it's its own world, and it's really fun to hear the audience over the first 15 minutes of the play or so figure out what world they are in with us, and so it's very unique and delightful to play.
And the structure of it is a bunch of scenes. You all have your own. You all have great entrances. Everybody gets a great entrance.
Yeah.
Which I love. Like you
It's like
all
a
sort of-
boxing match. Everyone gets to go up against Nora.
Yeah, I've heard Sam describe the sort of the set, and it's like is it a town hall? Is it a boxing match? Is it a couples counselor? Like there's so many different ways to
psychiatrist
sort of-
office with the box of Kleenex on the set. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're battling sometimes, like in a boxing match?
I do. I see
Sure.
one leave and the other one come on, and then I'm ready for the next battle. Yeah, that's how it is. It's a tag team sporting event, and people cheer when characters land a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cheers, everyone gets some because it's very balanced in their viewpoints.
Yeah, the night I went, when you did your monologue in the first scene, and to woo, you woo and woo. I just remember, I remember cheering and everyone around me cheering. I mean, you're really you're taking on marriage and monogamy, and you're taking on so many issues here.
And then her daughter comes up with a marriage just as strong, with an opposite viewpoint, and gets a cheer.
Right.
From the audience.
Right. No, exactly. So you really do get to see both sides of it, and I found myself cheering for both. I mean, you know what I mean?
That's the
Because
beauty of it.
it's so compelling.
When I first read the play, what drew me into it was the fact that I couldn't decide. There was not one person in the play that I sided with the whole time. That's what actually I loved about it, because I thought, oh, what a universal way of approaching this matter, and what a way to present all of these ideas where you realize, oh, everyone's right and everyone's wrong because everyone's human.
And they share a passion about what they believe, and I think you always root for people who are passionate about what they're trying to get their viewpoint across.
Chris, what's it been like for you being on stage with these talented ladies?
One of the nicest, greatest experiences I've ever had. To be with these talents is just inspiring. To reach for your best, give it your all. They are behind me, kicking me all the way to do just that. So I'm giving it my best shot.
It's also rare, this play's premiering on Broadway, which is so, as a journalist, it's exciting because, there's so many plays that premiere off Broadway or out of town, and we sort of know what they are by the time they get here. This one, it was like, when it was announced, it was surprising, and the title was surprising, and then you must feel the reactions. I mean, you must feel them, like you said, trying to figure it out, trying to sort of wrap their head around it, and then just sort of
Previews were especially so much fun for us to learn how the audiences were receiving the play to begin with. But they had seen no pictures. They didn't know what the set looked when they walked in. They didn't know who was going to make a first entrance in a period costume, and they didn't know what could possibly be bringing Nora back. I guess you assume that she's back, and what has she been doing? It was all a surprise.
It's also punk rock pre-show music, which I'm sure also is like, wait, where are we going into right now?
But even though we knew that it was going straight to Broadway, we were very bonded in the rehearsal process really quickly with each other. But it didn't have that kind of stress around it that you'd think that it could have. No tryout. Scott Rudin believed that this is that this show could hold its own, going straight to Broadway, and surrounded it with people who he knew could do that. You'd think that our room would have been a little tense, but it was not at all. It was very loose and collaborative.
I know that Sam also said that he hoped that it was a show that, inspired a huge conversation afterwards. You know what I mean? Like you sit there, you watch it, and then you go and talk about it and sort of. Have you been hearing that from people? Have you been?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought that this show might have a kind of exclusive appeal to theater people in particular. But my experience has been in talking to people after the play, non-theater people and theater people alike find almost identical things to discuss about it. And yes, people say they have long discussions and sometimes arguments about the play afterwards. So it's engendering the response we want, for sure.
A lot of people say they want to see it again because it goes by so quickly and it's so packed with ideas and comedy that it stands up for a second viewing, I think.
There's such a large number of young people that came out to see our show. And it's so important because in order for theater to continue on, we have to include the young people. They're going to be the ones to carry it out, you know? They're going to be the ones that make sure it doesn't become a dying art form. And that's something that we have to remember.
And it's fun to also think about, as fresh as this feels now, A Doll's House, when it was first produced, was equally groundbreaking, if not even more so. I mean, it caused great outrage and people storming out of the theater and theaters canceling performances, et cetera, because it was considered so outrageous.
And I'm curious why, why that doesn't happen more in this production. And, so strong, different points of view. And that the audience is going to agree with a point of view and disagree with another point of view. It's wonderful that they have to listen to the different points of view. I think then they'll walk away, hopefully, and discuss afterward.
I think you said once about it is a play about listening. Watching people have to listen to a viewpoint that they so totally don't believe in and try to at least absorb some of it.
Be open to it, yeah. It's very timely in that way, this play. I mean, it's good for us. I think this play has a present relevance for all of us, particularly because of in our country, in our political landscape and social landscape and socioeconomic landscape, with people having very disparate opinions and thoughts and strong feelings about things. And this play has disparate feelings and thoughts and strong feelings about things, and it brings an audience, a group of people together, and for the time that we're together, we all have to listen to each other, and we have to listen to each other as characters in the play, and the audience has to listen to the different dynamics and arguments and opinions of the play, and it's great.
What is Sam Gold like to work with?
Early on and for a good while, the freedom he gave us was pretty wonderful to find, and we all, there'd be some changes along the way, but to find our movement around this stage, around different areas, and we learned that pace had to be picked up. That was something that I think we realized had to happen. But he gave us great freedom, and then he will start, zeroing in with his ideas, and it's wonderful. It's how it should be.
I think he had on the technical note, he had a really clear vision as to how he wanted the play to be visually presented, and I think that we had a really great team in terms of finding how to make that happen, how to bring his vision as to what visually was happening to light and make it make sense for us as the characters. And I think it was a really awesome journey for us all to go on with it.
So Nora, her story, what we would basically learn Nora's story, right? It's 15 years after the first one. She left her family 15 years ago. We finally find out what happened to Nora. Are you inspired by her? Is playing this woman inspiring?
Yes, I do, because I think you root for people who, first of all, they are so passionate about what they believe in.
Yeah.
I don't. She can barely talk fast enough to get her ideas out,
Right.
And to show off to the woman who raised her.
Right.
So and you root for people who have those flaws. Yeah, she's a show off. Yeah, she's a brat sometimes. Yeah, she's impatient with everybody and selfish. But I find those qualities sort of endearing in people who just have these blinders on about what they want to go for and don't, just get out of my way. It's fun to play. Very fun.
Jayne, we've seen you do so many things on Broadway, different kinds of things. What do you love about this experience and this group of people and your time on Broadway and this show?
Well, there's nothing that I don't love about this experience, but the extraordinary, this play is very unique in terms of the way one has to deliver. There's no sitting back and indulging ever in this play. So we're all like on point for the entire time we're out there. And there's a kind of, it's nerve-wracking, but there's a kind of fun in that challenge that's really stimulating and exhilarating. And I just have really enjoyed that element of this play. And listening to all of us answer to that requirement of the play.
Does it change night to night? Does the energy of it change?
I'd say. I think we're still finding it. I don't think this play is so, like she said, you have to be so on point, and so there's no moment where you're like, oh, great, got it. It's like, no, I mean, I got that, and now let's see what else comes after that moment. So I did find in previews there were moments. I still felt very. I was in a when we opened previews, I was still really figuring out what it is that I was going to do. I really didn't really know what was going on yet. And again, you're still learning. But I mean, I really was like, okay.
We're all doing that. We're still
Crash course. What's happening?
Still finding, and that that may be hard for the listener to believe, but honestly, and our discipline to this day, every day, is we go over this script a couple of times a day.
Wow.
Honestly, you have to. It's such a tightrope that you're walking, and you so need to trust the other person who's delivering the dialogue to you, and you've got to give it right back.
Well, all that, walking on your tiptoes and studying the script, it pays off. I mean, because you see all that work in the audience. I mean, you really feel it. It's so alive. All the four of you
crackles,
together.
doesn't it? It really does.
Crackles,
you can tell. It's like the opening scene. It really is like a tennis match.
Yeah.
And we go down and run. I meet Chris, down before the audience comes in. We're running our lines separately on stage, with nobody around. It's a lonely time. And then we run our first scene together in Jayne's dressing room at
As
Portertail.
fast as we possibly can.
Yeah, just to get up to speed, because they're thinking so fast.
Yeah.
It's not even just the vocal warm-up, but it's the mental warm-up.
Yeah.
The play isn't physically demanding, but mentally it's very draining.
Yeah.
So excited for the Tony Awards?
It's going to be fun.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be acknowledged, It's nice that people think we're doing a good job. It's really nice.
You are. I mean, everyone needs to see A Doll's House Part 2, and I can't wait to go see it again.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, I'll be back. Trust me, I'll be back, and I'll be hooting and hollering during your monologues. I'll be loud. You encourage that, right? Audiences, you want them to get into it.
They do.
It's very encouraged.
They do.
Thank you so much for coming by. I truly love this show, and it's such an honor to get to sit with you all. Thank you.